Hello, everyone, and welcome to Media's SourceForge podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Bo Hamilton, senior editor and multimedia producer here at Slashdot and SourceForge, the world's most visited software comparison site where B2B software buyers compare and find business software solutions. Joining us today is Ben Eisenberg, the Vice President of Innovation at People Data Labs, a data provider that helps businesses get really detailed information about people and companies to improve all sorts of things like marketing, sales, hiring, and risk management. I would say this company is really a testament to the fact that we're well into the data age where data and data analytics, extrapolating meaning from data, is helping drive economic growth and innovation. So, enough of me talking. Ben, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for sitting through that introduction.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bo. I'm really excited to talk more to your audience and share a little bit about what we do.
Awesome. Well, to begin, can you kind of give us a high level overview of your company, People Data Labs, and the products and services you offer your clients?
Yeah, so we're a data company through and through. So, like you mentioned, we build data on people and companies. And our primary customers today are builders. So, product teams, data scientists, and engineers that are building data driven products using sort of B2B data. The main verticals that we serve today are HR, sales and marketing, investment research, and fraud. And so we serve a wide sort of customer base, just building products on top of data. And what we focus on is making the data really, really high quality, ensuring that it's compliant, ensuring that it's consumable and usable, and then delivering it in really actionable and developer friendly ways. So we've built out a suite of API endpoints that serve a bunch of different functions, allowing people to tap into the data, as well as sort of flat file data licensing and data sharing. And so across all of those delivery methods, our customers are able to build some really, really awesome products with our data. And I'm happy to share more, about some of those products or specific customer stories.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking all about that. So it really sounds like your company is sort of the backbone for a lot of tech companies and really almost any company nowadays, right? I think data is being used across every sector now.
Yeah, I feel like there's many, many popular analogies from data as the new oil to, where the flour provider providing bakeries with the flour they need to make bread to where sort of the arms dealer in the AI age, right? So many great different metaphors that you can use, but generally, right, like we just give really high quality data and our teams that work with us and our customers really build awesome consumer facing and business facing products on top of that data.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of like trends around this industry right now. There's like the AI kind of gold rush where every company is trying to incorporate AI to maintain like a competitive advantage, and then there's the growing concern around the ethical sourcing of data. My first question, or I guess my second question for you: what trends do you kind of foresee shaping the future of data-driven products and services, and how is People Data Labs preparing for them?
Yeah, so I think you hit on two of them that I'll hit on first, and then I'll jump to a third. So I think one is just that people are needing more and more data. So what we're seeing is, companies from Fortune 100 enterprises to early stage startups are building products around data instead of relying on SaaS tools. So historically, a team doing recruiting might use an outside tool to help them identify candidates. They might send their recruiters to LinkedIn, for example. But as companies are getting more and more targeted and more focused on identifying the right people to hire, they build out internal recruiting teams and data scientists who are actually helping their recruiters identify and find the right people, right? On a smaller scale, companies are getting more and more focused on building products to go and serve those enterprise users. So whereas before, everyone might have been using LinkedIn as their single source of truth for candidate data, there's tons and tons now of recruiting and sales and marketing tech products that have their own unique spin on how they leverage candidate data to make it as useful and actionable for recruiters or individuals who are trying to sell to people, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the datafication is the word that I like to use of the enterprise, and then just the datafication of companies and products that are being built is definitely like the first trend that we're really riding the wave of. The second is regulation and privacy. Data privacy is sort of the underpinning of a lot of what we've done at People Data Labs. So I haven't talked much about our data sourcing yet, but the way we source our data is we source from a public data sharing co-op that we have where customers and partners can participate and provide their data to us, as well as, right, we get data from the public web. So we're combining data from two different sources that we ensure are compliant And because of that, when companies are building on top of our data, they can build with confidence, knowing that we're staying ahead of the global privacy regulation that could impact their business. So that's something that's been really important for us, is making sure that, as the privacy landscape evolves, there's sort of like an exponential increase in the number of data privacy regulations on a state-by-state basis in the US especially. We're staying on top of and ahead of those and making sure that we're doing everything that's necessary to keep our customers compliant. The third trend, which I think you didn't mention, is really that we're seeing more and more companies think about different methods for consuming data. So like the GPT craze and sort of a lot of these, text-based, NLP-based engines that are out there, right? ChatGPT being the most famous, are really great at taking text and giving you an answer that seems structured and intelligible for a conversational purpose. What we have not yet seen in the market is really, really intelligibly structured data for specific entities. So for something like a person or a company or a job posting or a point of interest location data set, right? We've had a lot of people come to us and say, hey, like, couldn't I just replicate that by asking ChatGPT, tell me all of the subsidiaries of Google, or asking ChatGPT, hey, tell me the most relevant people to recruit for this software engineering job. Those are things today that a GPT on its own can't do. And so where we've really started to put our eggs and where our customers want us to focus is building really high quality structured data that they can then leverage to plug into something like ChatGPT to build out really cool AI applications. The AI on its own can't do anything without the data underpinning it. And with something like person data or company data, there's a lot of complexity in cleaning, structuring, and deduplicating that data that we handle so that our customers can focus on building, the products that they care about and they think are important for their end customers.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you touched on a lot of things. I'm going to absolutely come back to the privacy aspect. That's huge. I love the use of datafication. I haven't heard that before, but I'm going to start using that. And I feel like we can probably, this whole podcast could be just talking about the various trends, that are out there in this industry and kind of what you're staying on top of. But I want to ask you kind of about competition. Like, obviously your company is not the only company in this rapidly growing space, right? What do you believe sets People Data Labs apart from other companies in this space, and how does this influence your approach to product development?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that we really focus on. The first and the most important is just building high quality data. We consistently get feedback from customers that our data quality is really high, and there's a lot of different ways of judging data quality, from coverage to accuracy to usability. But on all marks, customers tend to really prefer our data. We focus solely on building that data. So if that data wasn't good, I think nothing else would come out of it. And a lot of our competitors in the market focus on building the data, but a lot of them are also building UI tools or applications. They're focusing on serving a different customer base than we are. We're sort of one of the only providers that's really, really focused on just building the data. And I think that's really distinguished us in terms of data quality. The second thing that we've really focused on has been being developer friendly. So having very clear documentation, explaining a lot of the standardization, transformation, and deduplication that we do, and the logic that we use to build our data is something that data scientists and engineers really value. And there's not a lot of companies that are willing to be that transparent about what many would consider their IP. But that's something that we openly share with our customers. And so it's made it very easy for developers to use and leverage our data and made them very comfortable with using and leveraging our data. And again, going back to data quality, if you understand how the data is being built, how to query it, and how to use it in a really, really straightforward way, it makes you more confident that the data you're getting back is good, right? So those have been sort of the two most important core pillars for us. I think third has just been that we've always been compliance first. And we've been really, really focused on that. So, there's a lot of our competitors out there that can't serve some of the enterprise clients that we serve because they wouldn't make it through a legal and procurement process. We serve some of the largest enterprises out there because they're confident that the way that we're acquiring our data is legal and compliant. And then, the fourth thing is just that we hand in hand work with our customers. We're data nerds at heart, and we're really excited to help our customers build some really awesome products. So we have a solutions engineering team, a customer success team that really guides customers through the process of building and working with our data. And so we've been able to partner with some really cool startups and been a part of their story from, when they were in the seed stage to where they are now. Gem has been a very long-term partner of ours in the recruiting space. 6sense has been a very long partner for us in the sales and marketing space. Affinity has been a long-term partner for us in the investment research space. We've been able to grow together with these companies, and that's been something that's really exciting to see. It's not like People Data Labs is growing on its own. It's our customers and our partners growing and being successful that's helped make us so successful.
Yeah, speaking of those customers, can you share any like recent success stories or specific milestones that your company's achieved, like working with these clients?
Yeah, so this isn't a logo that I could name, but we work with a couple of very large commercial real estate companies, and we've been doing something really, really cool and exciting with them. So what we've actually been doing is helping them identify what companies in their CRM, their realtors, should be going after. So what we've done is we've actually built custom aggregations that these specific real estate firms have defined for certain markets or certain groups of people that they're focused on tracking, and helping them aggregate that to the company level so they can understand, right, what companies are growing, what companies are shrinking, how those companies are changing over time. And we have a core product today, which is aggregated labor market insights at the company level. But what was really unique about these customer wins and customer conversations is we were able to build something really specific and bespoke for these customers that other customers are not receiving, that we worked hand in hand to design with them. And that's sort of been a new motion for us. And those custom insights are providing really, really high ROI. So now those corporate realtors are able to go out and identify prospects faster. They're able to monetize, right, their time a little bit better. Hopefully they're going to close more deals over the next 6 to 12 months, leveraging our data. And then we're also delivering that data for the first time, one of our most recent delivery methods, which is over Databricks Marketplace. So we've been able to actually deliver them the data, right into the platform that they use, which has been really, really exciting as well. We're always very excited when there are new delivery methods that our customers want to use, and we've seen a big trend of customers preferring to get data via these cloud warehouses, so Snowflake and Databricks. And Databricks has been the more recent marketplace launch, and this was one of our first customers on that as well. So we had a couple of different product wins throughout the sales cycle and partnering with that customer to build sort of a pretty unique and novel product and serve a new use case that we haven't served before. So that's something I was really, really excited about.
Okay, yeah, that's a good example because I'm my real estate team. They always send me monthly updates on the market, and they're I don't know what their sources are. I'm gonna have to refer them to you guys. But it's always interesting how the market's shifting constantly, and how important data is to try to figure out what the best time is to buy a home, sell a home, right? And that's just one example. Yeah. And it's just great to hear the real world examples because I'm a big visual learner, and so kind of seeing these like tangible outputs that these companies are able to deliver with your help, it helps me learn more about your company's solutions.
Yeah, 100%.
But anyway, looking ahead, can you discuss any upcoming projects or initiatives that the product team at your company is particularly excited about?
Yeah, I'll hit on two. So one that is very, very short term that we're making some huge strides on is improving how our customers interface with our data updates. So currently we update both our person and our company data on a monthly cadence. And customers are either receiving that data via API, so they need to re-query, right, to receive updates on the data that they have, or they're getting a flat file shipped to them, and it's sort of the entire file. So we're just shipping them like one giant brick of data, and they have to do all the processing to get those updates into their system. We're building a series of different tools that allow customers to update the data faster. So webhooks that will push to them specific records that have changed, so they could track, the pool of, data that they have more easily and update it in a more targeted fashion. Or on the flat file side, providing customers with Delta files, so only the rows that have changed in the data, to help them cut down on costs, readjusting the data, and make sure that their ETL processes run faster. So, going back to some of the things that really differentiate us from our competitors, making it easier for data engineers and developers to use our data is something that we're constantly focused on. So continuing to get wins, working with customers and partnering with customers to get their feedback on how they're ingesting and using the data has been a big focus for us over the last, 3 to 6 months. And we're rolling out these new features and product improvements over, we rolled some out in July, and we're continuing to roll them out through the rest of this year. The next big sort of data milestone that I think we're going to hit is we're planning to release a job posting data set in 2025. So today we can tell you about the talent supply in the marketplace, and the company is behind that talent supply, right? So where do people work? Where are they moving from? Where are they going to? How does a company look in terms of its headcount? How has that changed over time? But that sort of tells you backwards looking what's happened at the company and what's currently going on. There's also a forward looking metric that you can look at, which is who are they hiring? Where are they hiring them? Where is talent demand existing? And job postings can help answer those questions. So that's a data set that we're really, really excited to release. We think it completes a lot of the data stories that our customers are trying to answer. And our long-term vision, right, is to build as many interoperable data sets as possible and deliver them and provide the same quality standards that we have for our person and our company data. And so job postings is the next big step in that, sort of journey for us.
Okay. So yeah, you got a lot in the pipeline. Looks like you've already shipped several updates starting earlier this month.
Yeah. So every quarter we have sort of a major release, and we typically try to release at least one headline item every single quarterly release. And then we have our 2 monthly releases in between where we're updating the data and making bug fixes and smaller improvements. And so, yeah, we're constantly on the cycle of just building more stuff. For the most part, we've been building a lot of supporting infrastructure and tooling for our customers to really consume the data. We've added some data fields, we've made some improvements to our 2 core data sets, but our last big jump in terms of what data we offered was our company data, which we launched in 2022. And so job postings, is the next phase of that coming soon. But generally,
do you have a hard release date for the job listings API?
We don't yet, but it should be probably early 2025. We're starting to work with an alpha group of customers right now. So if anybody's listening to this and job posting data is something that is really, really important to them, feel free to reach out to me and I'll connect you to the right people internally on our team.
Okay. Hey, we'll get all the links for you to reach out to him later at the end of this podcast, so stay tuned for that. What role would you say broadly does innovation play in your products?
Yeah, I feel like innovation can be a big buzzword, but to me, what innovation really means is listening to what's going on in the market, understanding the market, and being able to capture that and take that back and build it into our products. So we've really focused on being very customer driven in terms of our roadmap. We actually have a public facing roadmap, feedback.peopledatalabs.com, where anyone can go, suggest roadmap items, vote on other roadmap items, and we actually build a large portion of our roadmap using the feedback that customers give us ourselves. I think that's pretty innovative and exciting. The more we can have our customers participate, it helps bridge the gap. Like my role and my title become more and more irrelevant if our customers can just directly talk to and work with our product team and our revenue folks as much as possible to build what they need. And so I think that's been really important to us as we've thought about our product development. I think the other thing that's really, really innovative for us is we always hear a lot of feedback from investors, from customers, from partners that they'd want us to build like a user interface or make ways to access the data outside of just focusing on the data. I think a lot of data companies have gone down that path historically, where they start off as a data company and then they start to build out interfaces and tooling. We've sort of planted our flag in the ground that we're just a data company. That's allowed us to focus a lot on the data, and we get a lot of positive feedback from customers, like I said before, about our data quality. And I think that's because we've sort of held the line on what we think our company is, what the value of our company is, and what we see coming in the future in terms of more and more companies wanting clean but raw data, not just an interface or a tool that they can use.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And innovation really is one of those broad kind of buzzwords, but it makes sense to follow the latest trends and keep releasing iterations. I think what you said in the previous questions about how you're constantly releasing quarterly updates, I think that's a testament to how you're staying innovative. Now, it also obviously takes vision, it takes risk, and some things just don't pan out like you intend, right? So what are some of the key challenges you face in the product development process at People Data Labs?
Yeah, I think because we're so open to customer feedback, we get a lot of requests. And so processing, ranking, and sorting those requests can always be a challenge. I think there's lots of different data attributes, data sets, and data fields that our customers want. So figuring out what's achievable for us to build and sticking the landing on what we build is something that we've really tried to focus on as we've matured as a company. So that's been one big challenge. And I think the second challenge is, you mentioned earlier that there are a lot of companies out there that sell data, right? There are a lot of companies out there that provide B2B data. I think differentiating ourselves from the market has been a little bit challenging. Early on, I think it was really unclear to us what made People Data Labs so unique and special. And, we've been really lucky that we have a lot of champions in our customer base who helped spread positive word of mouth for us. And then as that word of mouth came back to us, we started to realize, hey, these are the items that our customers are seeing in People Data Labs that they really value. They value the data quality. They value the quality of service. They value the developer experience that we provide. And so we've been able to sort of tune our messaging and then also tune our roadmap to that. But I think it was really challenging early on to identify that, just given how crowded the space is and given, a lot of our inbound leads are often focused on price to start and trying to find the cheapest option, selling them on the value and selling them on understanding why we're a premium data provider and experience and why that's important is something that we've had to figure out over time.
Yeah, I think, focusing on just the people aspect, I think is probably really beneficial, right? Because there's been everything so kind of synthetic and artificial. So kind of like making clients and customer service a big emphasis is probably helping me out.
And the challenge with data, especially at our scale, and this is the dirty secret of the data space, right, is no one really knows how to evaluate data quality. Like I could look at my record and see if my record is good. I could look at People Data Labs' record and see if People Data Labs' record is good. But when it comes to looking at company data, outside of your own company, you don't really know the information about other companies. Outside of yourself and your family, your friends, your coworkers, you don't really know, right? Like where somebody works, if it's accurate, what their education history is, if it's accurate, etc. So testing and evaluating the data is challenging in itself.
How do you evaluate that data?
Yeah. So internally, we actually do a lot of testing, right? Because we're getting in new data sources all the time. So part of the experience that we try to give our customers is helping them understand how we evaluate data and how we think that they should benchmark us against the competitive landscape. There's a couple of different ways that we've evaluated data. So one is just coverage. So understanding what somebody has just on a numeric basis is really important. But, just because you have a lot of something doesn't mean you have a lot of good stuff, right? You can have a lot of bad stuff too. So then in terms of quality, what we often check is we do a lot of source of truth and golden source testing. So over time, between our data sources, we've seen things that agree and we've seen things that disagree. When we see things that agree from a lot of different sources, or we have one source that we know is highly reliable for a certain piece of information, we use those sources to benchmark other sources. So for example, there are sources out there from the government that indicate someone's birth date, right? If we wanted to validate people's birth dates, we might go check against that government source and look at other sources and see how they compare and where they're wrong and where they're right. If a source has a lot of birth dates that don't match like government records, that's probably wrong, right? Like there's probably a lower quality data source contributing to that partner, or there's just not as good data out there. Those have sort of been two of the main things that we've really looked at and evaluated. And then the third thing for us is the relationship between different pieces of information, so the linkages. So looking at are the right LinkedIn URLs associated with the right emails, are the right job titles associated with the right people, any two pieces of information, seeing if those two pieces of information that we have as a relationship and that we see are shared are true in the other sources that we're evaluating is something that we'll constantly look at. We weigh and look at, right, how frequently an individual source is contributing contradictory or novel linkages as a way of judging its quality. Because if something is very, very novel, very, very frequently, just at the scale of data that we have, it's frequently wrong. And so that's a big area that we focus on as we continue to expand the data that we have. And then when we go to a customer who's assessing data for the first time, net new, right, we encourage them to go and get equal samples from all their providers, get a large sample, and then look at the contradictions and try to determine if the contradictions, which provider has the accurate information, which provider has the most up-to-date information, which in some cases is easy and in some cases is challenging. And, it really becomes more of an art than a science.
Yeah, all this makes me kind of think back to my data science classes and how we'd be combing through Kaggle data sets trying to find, the best data set and trying to decipher which one needs work, which one not to use because it's missing a bunch of key categories, et cetera. Now, when it comes to evaluating data, is that process that you go through, is that similar to how you evaluate new product features or enhancements?
Yes and no. So yes, right? Like whenever we want to build a new product feature enhancement, we probably have to evaluate the data quality of whatever new attributes we're adding to the data. I think what's different is oftentimes when it's a new attribute versus something we already have, it's harder for us to evaluate. In the same way, it might be harder for our customer to evaluate data if it's their first time buying it. When we have data on something, we start to build like a knowledge and a repertoire of like how we would evaluate that attribute. When it's a net new product feature, a lot of times we don't have the capability, capacity, or data assets internally to evaluate it. And that's, again, in a place where we lean a lot on our customers and our strategic partners. So like I was mentioning with job posting data, right, we're going to have an alpha group of customers that goes out and tells us, like, is this data useful? Is it usable? What's the quality? And a lot of those customers have experience benchmarking and using other job posting data sets. So they'll help us get an initial sense of the data quality that we have, of the data quality of the sources that we're getting the job posting data from. And then we can start to build that knowledge internally that when the next job posting data source comes around, 6 months after we launch the product, we're even better at evaluating it than our customers. So we, work very collaboratively with our customers and try to align with our customers as much as possible what data quality means to them, because that, in the end makes the product better. And that's what people buy, right? Like our customers are only going to buy what they perceive as high quality. And so working directly with them from the start as we're developing new features is something we typically don't do for just acquiring data in general, but for new product features and enhancements, it's something we have a tendency to do.
Okay. That's really interesting. Do your clients ever, this is kind of leading into my next question, but do your clients ever, ask about privacy? Do they put a high emphasis on the importance of privacy, or is that something that you're just taking proactively?
It's both. I think initially we were taking a proactive approach and people are, taking varying levels of focus on privacy. Enterprises, larger businesses have always been very focused on privacy. As you get into like the smaller, medium-sized businesses, I think where people start to put an emphasis on privacy is as they start to raise funding, right? Like as they start to mature as a business, as more outside capital or outside factors are looking at their business, they start to place more of an emphasis on privacy. For us, we were acquiring data that we knew might be regulated at some point, that we knew was sensitive. When we started the business in 2015, GDPR was not a thing. It was not even really conceived of. But, as the business evolved, we started to realize that these legislations were coming down the pipe. When GDPR was passed and signed into law, we realized there's probably going to be something similar in the US at some point. So we really started to button up our positioning and how we, source data, acquire data, how we mature, right, our whole data pipeline end to end. And nowadays, almost every conversation with customers has privacy as part of, the sales cycle. Whether it's initially, many companies will actually just vet data providers to see if they're compliant before they even go into data testing, or further down the pike, like on the legal side, as we're working on a contract, making sure that, the right terms are in place, that we have the right documentation from a security standpoint, from, a privacy standpoint that, customers need and require. It's sort of become a very key part of our sales cycle end to end.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be, right, to kind of predict the future. I mean, the US does not have a comprehensive federal consumer data protection law, that covers all varieties of data. So it's been talked about, it's been in the works for years, but we know.
Yeah, and we would love one, right?
Yeah,
Like we would love for there to be one comprehensive legislation. Like as a data business,
mm-hmm.
it's so much harder to comply with 50 different laws, regulations, and expectations than one. Every single state has its own sort of nuances, and we have a head of privacy on staff. We're not a huge company; we're about 100 employees, but we have a privacy team of 2 people that actually take on and sort of work on understanding and making sure that we're compliant with all the legislation. If there was a federal law, those people would have a lot less work. I'm sure they'd be very, very grateful. And it would just make it easier for, us to operate as a business and partner with companies across, the software landscape, because it heavily stifles innovation when there's a lot of different contradictory or different laws in different places.
It does. Yeah. I'm glad that you're, embracing and open to a comprehensive law. I think a lot of people are on board, including data companies like yourself.
Yeah, and right, it protects consumers more. Like we believe in the use of data for good. Like the data is out there, right? The use cases that we support are for helping, the world, for helping businesses, right? Helping people get hired, helping companies reach their buyers. Those are things that, we think are good for the world. They're for business purposes. And we want to continue to support and enhance innovation in those areas. We want to help companies understand the economic market and the labor market better. We want to help, realtors help people get their homes faster and more efficiently. Like those are use cases that I think are important. And so for us, it makes sense to regulate and protect against the bad actors and allow the good actors to continue to comply, right, with whatever is necessary to make the world feel comfortable with that data and to make sure that there are no bad actors.
Yeah, and I know security and data, or security and privacy, go hand in hand. And you touched a lot on the privacy aspect. But are there any specific security approaches People Data Labs is taking in its products?
For us, I mean, just being certified as like SOC 2 and ISO compliant was something that was very important. It just indicates that we have a mature business, that we're continuing to operate and comply with security standards that are set out for all businesses, not just data businesses. And for us, we have another layer of exposure compared to the average business, which is we provide our data right to other companies. And so making sure that we work and partner with those companies so that they're also secure and protecting their data is something that's really important. Something that we lean into and talk about very frequently, is that in 2018 or 2019, one of our customers actually had a data breach. And we were, our data was involved. And that was something that was a big wake up call for us. We didn't do anything wrong. We were secure, but our customers did not follow best practices. And so we've really internalized that we need to also be partnering and working with our customers to make sure that they're also securing things appropriately. And so for us, that's been the extra layer in terms of how we think about security. So it's not just that we're compliant and we are, secure. It's making sure that anyone who's handling or working with our data maintains those same standards of security that we set for ourselves.
That's great. Yeah, I think a lot of potential customers listening to this will find some assurance in that statement. Now, I have one more bonus question for you that could be fun to share on social media, if you're ready for it.
I'm always ready.
All right. So all leaders, they want to have the opportunity to share one key message with potential customers, something they feel is crucial, sort of akin to shouting it from the rooftop. What would you say is the one important thing you want prospects to know?
Yeah, I think especially up market, as we think about larger businesses, I think there are a lot of people who are thinking about how they could leverage data. But the challenge that they have is getting internal buy-in and stakeholders aligned. The data and data purchasing is something that's really, really important. I think, for me and for, a lot of the members of my team, partnering with those firms and helping them get the internal buy-in is something that we've been really, really focused on. We believe datafication is my favorite word of the year. We believe that these businesses are data-fining. We believe that they are going to become data companies. We believe that they're going to be working with data like ours, even if it's not our data. And so for us, it's become really, really important to partner with and work with side by side with the key stakeholders who are trying to make that happen at larger enterprises and larger companies. So if this is something that you're thinking about, hit me up, hit People Data Labs up, because it's something that we've done many times over and we're continuing to do to help a lot of the innovators and thinkers out there who are hoping to use data really get the cross-functional buy-in that you need to actually build a data product.
So if we were to want to hit you up, where can people find out more about you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can email me, Ben at People Data Labs. You could hit me up on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn slug is LI Influencer, which I'm very proud of. Or just reach out to People Data Labs at peopledatalabs.com.
Awesome. Well, we'll have all the links in the description and ready for people to click on. So you should have no problem finding it. But thank you so much for your time, Ben. This has been, I think, a really insightful conversation. And I'd love to have you back one of these days.
Yeah, I'm always happy to talk about data 24/7. So thank you for inviting me on, Bo.
Of course. And I'm going to start using that word, datafication. What was the other one?
Datafy. I think I've made up all of these words, but I'm trying to compete with our CEO who claims that he invented data is the new oil. Because in 2015 we had an oil barrel in our office in San Francisco.
Really?
So we're trying to be influencers wherever we can.
All right. Well, maybe it's at the very least, it's probably on Urban Dictionary, right?
I don't know, but I will look it up right after this and we'll find out.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you all listeners. You're listening to the Slash.media podcast. I am your host, Bo HD. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all of our upcoming B2B software related podcasts. We'll talk to you guys in the next one. Thank you again so much, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Bo. And thank you everyone for listening.